what you did by second nature
Mm-hmm.
when you first fall in
Right,
love.
because it's so
You have to
high.
do as an intention
Right,
in order
that's
to
good.
rekindle love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but women, you have to know this. That men, we are really hesitant to give up options. Okay, and so commitment is forcing you to give up options, and so you have to realize that until he's committed, he has options. You know, and then some guys say, "Well, it's just a piece of paper." Well, do
Yeah.
you drive without a license?
Right.
Do you practice law? Are you a psychologist? Are you a therapist
Mm-hmm.
without a license on the law?
Right.
You know, what else
Mm-hmm.
do you do and you don't believe in paper?
Right.
You know, and usually it's only marriage. Hello, welcome to In Conversation with Joel Brooks. I'm sitting here with my beautiful bride, Yvonne.
Hello.
Say hello to the people,
Hello,
Yvonne.
people.
Yeah. And we've been talking about relationships for a few
Mm-hmm.
weeks now. And last couple sessions, we dealt with the blended family issue, and we hope that was a blessing. We want to go back to dating, and there's a lot of single people in the world now, and so we need some wisdom about dating. So we've been getting some questions in,
Mm-hmm.
and so,
Yes.
honey, I think they've been coming to you,
Yep.
and so
Also, if
you,
you have questions about the blended family issues,
right,
just send us in our chat. Just
hmm,
write your questions and we'll answer your questions.
right,
You have so many types of singles now. It's not just single people who've never gotten married. You have
right,
single people who've been divorced. You have
college
single
age,
people with children. You have college age single. You
yeah,
have seniors who are single.
hmm,
And so there's a lot of interest about singles and dating and how you meet. So we got quite a few questions. One of them right now with the rise of tech dating, I'll call it.
high tech, dating,
Yeah,
yeah,
with computer, online dating, things
hmm,
like that. People have a lot of questions about how do you deal with long distance relationships?
mm.
How is that a real thing? Could that really happen? And how do you deal with long distance relationships?
Yeah, well, one thing about it being a high tech world is that no relationship is really long distance when you talk about communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there's phones, there's so many ways to connect nowadays. Is that ours was a long distance
Right.
relationship, and there are
Mm-hmm.
actually some advantages to a long distance
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and that is I got to know her voice before I got to know her physically, and so your voice speaks from your heart, and you share your mind, you share ideas, and you're not distracted by physical things or activities that you're trying to do together. You just spend a lot of time talking, and that's
Right.
really, really healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Communication, I've been taught, is the basis for life,
Mm-hmm.
and so we developed a strong basis for our relationship. We knew how we felt about just about
Everything.
everything, and so
Everything.
we covered every topic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first day.
I
And
think, in
so,
fact, we said, "Hey, this is me." Blah
right,
blah 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 blah
right,
blah.
right,
We
right,
threw everything on the table,
right,
and then you did the same, and you threw everything on the table. Like, hey,
mm,
you want to explore this or not? This
right,
is me. We
right,
were just
right,
really
right.
direct. But I felt
If you
like we
can't
knew
handle
each
this,
other.
let's not go any further.
Right. Let this be the end.
Right.
Nobody has time
Yeah, yeah. And
to
so,
mess with things.
and that may be one of the advantages of dating older is that
Hmm.
you don't have time for a lot of games. And
Right.
so we went straight to the truth, to the
Hmm.
information that needed to be shared. But if you are in a long distance relationship, your phone activity should be high.
Right.
Okay. In other words, there should be a real desire to communicate with one another.
So that's answering the question: how do I know?
Yeah.
Because he's not in my face every
Hmm.
day.
Right.
How do I actually know that he's interested in me?
Right. If you can spend 4 or 5 days not talking to each other, it might just be friendship. You want
Hmm.
to, how can I say it? You want to have a longing to communicate with the person that you're falling in love with. You want to have
Hmm.
that connection there. You want there to be that hunger.
Right.
You know, one of the things that falling in love does is it breaks your patterns.
Hmm.
Okay, and so the Bible says that when you get lukewarm, to go back and do your first works.
Right.
So in other words, breaking your pattern, and so love becomes a priority to you.
When
If
you
you
say
love someone,
lukewarm, what do you mean?
when it
When you
grows
say that?
cold, when their love grows
Hmm.
dull, and in every relationship, we have opportunities for that to happen.
Right.
In the relationship cycle, you start out on fire. You start out excited about it, taking risk, changing patterns, changing priorities, and then you can get into a rut, and things become, you know, what was new at one time becomes a tradition,
Right.
and you become, they become habits, and now you do things out of habit rather than
Right.
really
Oh,
out
is
of
it
out of
date
love.
night time
Yeah,
again?
yeah, right. Tuesday night, pucker up,
Right.
you
Here I
know,
come.
that kind of thing. And
hmm
so what you do is the way you renew a relationship, whether it's with God or with your business or with your mate,
hmm
is you break your pattern. Okay,
Right.
you break your pattern, you begin to pursue it again. Okay, and so
I think
and
that's
so
when
when you
people.
fall in love, it should break your pattern. Like
hmm
um, I want to talk to you more than I want to go out with the guys.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
I know Thursday night is my night with the guys,
hmm
but I should be willing to give that up in order for you and I to have a relationship. If I
Right.
know we can talk, and then sometimes long distance produces time zone issues.
Yeah.
Like it's like what would be a good time for me to talk might be really early in the
hmm
morning for you.
Right.
So, but all those challenges can be navigated if there's a hunger, if there's a
Right. If there's
desire.
desire.
And
Right.
so I'm a big fan of long distance relationships
hmm
for that reason.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. I
hmm
feel like, uh, as you said, we got to know each other.
hmm
Without the physical thing. Sometimes people go far with physical before you
Right.
actually know someone.
Right.
And so having the long distance relationship really helped us to know each other, know our standards,
Yep.
what we believed in, how we
Yep.
parented. So it was really good. And I think the time spent, we spent 3 hours
A
a
day. Yeah.
day on the
Talking. Yeah.
talking on the phone, and sometimes with the sun would come up,
And we'd
at
look through the
night,
curtains and the light is
the
shining
light
through
coming
the
in my
curtains.
bedroom,
Right.
and I'm still on the phone with you, or the
hmm
times I fell asleep on the phone with you.
Couple times. Couple times I was really sharing my heart, and I listened. I asked. I said, you know what I mean? And then I heard her snoring. And I was really hurt, but I recovered from it. It
Well, the
was a
next day
setback for me.
he said, you missed it. You missed it. I was really pouring my heart out to you. And I said, tell me what you said. And you refused to tell
No,
me.
I'll never tell you.
You better tell me.
No, that's gonna be a mystery.
Well, for our
You
next,
missed your moment.
no, for our anniversary, you better tell me. Say, this is what I had on my heart. This is what I was
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
But it did help us to know each other. So
hmm
I felt like I knew earlier also
hmm
in reference to whether or not our relationship would work.
Right,
I think I was pretty solid, just a few months in. Okay, yeah, this would be
right,
type of person. You're just still trying to wait to hear God's voice and feel his direction,
right.
but definitely I love the long distance relationship as well
Yeah,
because it just knocked out all of the other little things that could happen in a relationship and allowed us to get to know
yeah.
each other.
Right.
When you said you talked about rekindling fire.
hmm
Okay, so that happens in marriages. It also happens in relationships. And I think
Right.
sometimes people say, "Well, you are romantic," because I remember when you did X, Y, and Z for me before
Right.
you got me.
Right.
I think I told you that one time, and you said, "Well, I got you."
I
What
got
did
you now.
say?
Yep.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's like that
So
doesn't work.
what happens is that what you did by second nature
hmm
when you first fall in
Right,
love,
because it's so
you have to
high.
do as an intention
Right,
in order
that's
to
good.
rekindle love.
hmm
Okay. Rekindled love is actually deeper than new love.
hmm
Okay, because you have experience, you have history,
Right.
you've been through some stuff.
hmm
You've had, if you get married, you've had emergency rooms with the kids, you've gone through stuff
hmm
with the kids, you've gone through stuff with careers,
Right.
you've had some ups and downs, and so you actually weathered some things, and that actually makes you closer
Right.
if you come through it whole and
Right.
healed. And
If you're
so,
looking at it correctly
right,
too,
yeah.
mindset.
So one of the things that I remind people of is that God only gives us a voice and
hmm
presence.
hmm
And that what I found is that with your voice, with a person's voice, comes their presence.
hmm
So I don't have your presence because we're in proximity with one another. I have your presence because I have your voice and I have your
hmm
affection.
Yes.
And so distance, Ed Cole taught me, distance is not measured in miles or inches, it's measured in affection.
Right.
And so we can be laying next to each other, cold as ice,
Right.
mad because I did something crazy.
And distant and really
Yeah,
distant.
yeah. And you
Right.
can be really distant even though you're
Close.
close in proximity.
hmm
So you can fall in love with a voice. God
Right.
tells us to love Him, and all He gives us is voice and presence. We don't have a body to focus that love on, and so that means that you can legitimately fall in love with a voice. And that was one of the things I learned through that, is that when I had your voice, I had your presence. That's why I insisted that you get a cell phone. This girl did not have a cell phone. Can you imagine somebody not
Well,
having a
how
cell
many years
phone?
ago that was, and it wasn't
This is
necessary.
'01.
Okay, all right.
This
It
was
wasn't
in this
necessary.
millennium.
It wasn't necessary to me, but I could see now. So you had like a little, not a fit, but you was like, I couldn't reach you. And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
couldn't
I'm
reach
not
it.
home yet. Call me at work. When I get to work.
Yeah.
So I was out and about, and you
But I
wanted to hear
wanted
the
her.
voice.
When I wanted to hear her voice, I wanted to hear her voice, and so I insisted that she get a phone.
So I
She
got a
eventually
cell phone.
capitulated and got one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good because then I had you all day. So
Right,
that was
right,
excellent.
right.
So when did you know, like with the as far as a long distance relationship, when did you know? Okay, this was it. This is a trick question, and you better answer right. Go ahead.
When did I know this was it?
Yeah.
I think it comes in stages. I think the first thing is you say, "Man, this could work."
Yeah.
I think you go through that stage, and I think for men, a lot of times it comes down to who is it you're not willing to live without, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, and so it just came down to I wasn't really willing to live without you because you called me out on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's right. I did.
you called me out on it, and so I feel like men, we have a maturity issue, and maturity is measured in the acceptance of responsibility. So it's tough for us to take responsibility for actually leading the relationship, for having the vision and saying this is where we're going and this is what I have in mind for you. We just kind of enjoy drinking from the relationship.
Right. Absolutely. Because we have so much to give.
Right.
And I think women need to understand their value. You don't allow men to drink from you, that way. When I say drink,
without clarity.
without clarity, where
Right.
are we? And I think that's what happened. And we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And you want to tell that story, or you want to skip that story?
Well, I can tell it.
Yeah.
Back then, I don't know what you have now, but back then you had call waiting.
Yeah.
And so we would be in the middle of a conversation, and then the phone would click.
Heavy conversation.
Yeah,
guys.
and so I would click over, and then I would click back, and you'd ask me who was that,
Right.
and I'd say it was this female or that female.
It was a friend. Yeah.
Well, who was that? I said they're just a friend, And so after about 2 times that night of that happening, you say, well, what am I?
Right.
What are you and I? I said, we're friends. So am I a friend like the other friends? Or am I a special friend? Are we a couple? Or what are we? I said, well, we're friends. You say, well, I don't talk to my friends every night for 3 hours.
On the phone. That's
on the
right.
phone. I said, so how often do you talk to your friends? And she said, maybe once a week.
I said, once a week.
It was Tuesday. I said, okay, I'll call you Sunday.
No, you said, I'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Really?
You said next week.
I thought it was, I said Sunday. I called you Sunday.
I don't remember the exact date, but you said, I'll talk to you next week. And I said, okay. And when I hung up that phone, to me, it was like done.
Really?
I'm like, okay, this Negroidian.
This is said a bad word. Y'all.
Oops, sorry,
I don't know
guys.
if y'all heard that or not. But
I said, that's it, because I'm not going to, I not necessarily that it was it. I didn't close the door.
Right.
But I was just
you
like,
thought it was
okay.
over, yeah.
I said, this is a possibility that this could be over.
Right.
Because I wasn't trying to have a friend.
Right.
Another friend and be a friend for years on the show. And so I wasn't having that.
Right.
And so I think the next day in my house, I was home and the phone rang, ring, ring, ring.
Yeah.
And I looked down and I saw the caller ID and it was him. I said,
And I said,
So
okay,
he answered, no,
we're
no.
more than friends. We're more than friends.
You didn't say it like that. You said, okay. We're more than friends. We're more than friends.
That's not how I just said it.
I said, okay, so where are we? No, I added some more okays in that.
Okay.
And then you said, so where, so I said, well, you still didn't answer it yet.
Right.
So I said, so where are
I said,
we?
we're a couple.
Yeah. And then, so we had to really clarify, because I think sometimes, you can have a good guy, but they're afraid to go to the next step for whatever reason, especially with being a divorced person, your past experiences.
Right.
I think men are a little more afraid, to try to go to do that again.
Yeah.
Although they have a desire for it,
Right.
and so you have to get clear understanding. But do you think that, I know defining the relationship helped me to clarify where we were.
Yep.
Did it help you? Do you feel like the defining the relationship, do you feel that it helped you?
Well, I was having fun. I
Mm-hmm.
was enjoying the relationship, and so
Mm-hmm.
defining it didn't change much for me because you were
Mm-hmm.
available.
Mm-hmm.
But you held me accountable
Yeah.
and made me define it, and so I think that helped the clarity. That helped talk,
Right.
as we begin to talk about the future. But women, you have to know this, that men, we are really hesitant to give up options. Okay, and so commitment is forcing you to give up options, and so you have to realize that until he's committed, he has options, and that
Mm-hmm.
I've had women tell me, Pastor, we've been having a great relationship. We've been dating for a long time now, and but he's not committed. What's the problem? I said, because he's not
Not
committed.
committed. That's right.
I said, if he's not committed, he's not committed,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to protect your heart until, people can lie. I
Mm-hmm.
can make you a promise
Mm-hmm.
and talk about the future and break your heart, by cheating on you or lying on
Mm-hmm.
you, letting you down. And that's one thing. I don't know how you really protect yourself from that,
Right.
but you can protect your heart by not letting yourself get ahead of what the guy is saying to you.
Right.
I'll ask women, well, what is he saying? Well, I feel like we'll get married, in a couple of years. Well, what is he saying?
Right.
Okay, is he
Feel like
saying,
you'll be a great wife.
yeah, you'd be a great wife
Right.
for someone? Did he say him?
Right.
That
Right.
kind of thing. And so one of the ways of protecting your heart is not allowing people to cast themselves into your future
Mm.
without a commitment.
Right.
Okay.
That's good.
One of the things that makes us human is that we have an imagination. This is why I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in evolution, because
Mm-hmm.
there's too many things that we have that you can't point to where it evolved from.
Right.
If that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So when did we get an imagination? When did we get a concept of being able to picture our future? And one of the unique things about humans is that we can have a picture of our future, and that's in our heart. And so my heart has hope. I'm looking for something in the future, and if it doesn't come to pass, the Bible says hope deferred makes the
Makes the
heart
heart
sick.
sick.
And
Absolutely.
so you don't want to cast someone into your future or allow
Mm-hmm.
them to talk about the future without a commitment.
Right.
What are you saying? You
Mm-hmm.
have to ask those questions, and you don't allow yourself to dream about a future with a person and sit
Mm-hmm.
back and fantasize about a future with a person without a promise.
Right.
Now, with a promise, I believe it's fair and legal to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they turn out to lie and let you down, then you have a broken heart.
Right.
But there's no way to invest your heart without the risk of it being broken.
Right.
But to invest it without a promise is very unwise.
Right.
And so, as much discipline as it takes, I wouldn't sit around and dream about what life would be like with this person or what our kids would look like.
Mm-mm.
They've not made you a promise, because you're setting
Absolutely.
yourself up for real disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is it's a mystery. A guy will date you 3 years and not marry
Right.
you, and meet somebody and marry him in 6 months.
Right.
I think one of the
Now,
reasons
why is that?
I think one of the reasons is because men get married when they're ready as opposed to who they want.
Mm.
Okay, I believe there's a time in your life when you're really ready to settle down, and whoever is there at that time will be the one they settle with.
Could it also be that they're just not sure about the person that they're with,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they meet somebody else and say, "Okay, you are the one."
yeah, I think
But
that
then,
could happen, but I
yeah.
think everybody has advantages and disadvantages. It comes
Mm-hmm.
with strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
But I think with men, a lot of times men are just ready to settle down.
Mm.
And so then whoever's on the scene at that time, and it might not even make sense. They may get married and look back and say, man, I passed up
Mm-hmm.
on the 80%, and for the 20 they talk about,
Right.
And so so I think, and that's why you have to help them get ready.
Right.
Okay, if a person is willing to live without you,
They need
you
to.
need to let them.
Absolutely.
Okay, because typically a man is going to marry the person he's not willing to live without.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay,
yeah, that's
and so
good.
he has to know that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women will commit unconditionally to a person that's not committed to them,
Right.
hoping that they will turn committed. But being in a relationship doesn't turn an uncommitted person into a committed person.
Right. Absolutely.
It's actually when they know they could lose it, it has more influence on turning an uncommitted person to a committed person, because they have to think about what it would be like to be without you, and let that happen before they get tired of you.
Right. What do you think is going on with women when they allow that? For you to hang on for years, because there's this one person that I spoke to who came to me for help because she had already been in a 20-year relationship,
Whoa.
and uncommitted 20-year relationship,
Yeah.
helping to build his life, all of this stuff. And she was like, I could have had children by then now. My children could have been
They'd be in
19. They
college.
would have been in college. That's what she was saying. So my
Yeah.
children, I'm like, why are you hanging on
Yeah.
for a relationship for 20 years?
Right.
Because obviously he's not committed to you. Obviously you have the dream, and he's not sharing the dream,
Yeah.
and you're still not married.
Right.
And it's been quite a few years since then.
Right. I think there's a combination of things here. I think they're not sure, and they never had to face being without you.
Right. I'm saying from the woman's perspective,
From the
what's
woman's
going? What do you think is going
Well,
on in her
I
head?
think the more time invested, the harder it is to leave.
That's good.
So I think there needs to be a statute of limitations. 1 year may be too short. I don't know, but as you're getting towards a year and a half or 2 years into dating,
Yeah.
you know whether or not you want to live with that person the rest of your life.
Right.
Okay. And so a lot of people don't know if they want to live with anybody the rest of their life,
Right.
Until death do us part.
Right.
That was a little easier when people were dying at 33, 34. But now we're living to be 80, and that's
Right.
like, whoa, that's a long time, And so I think that makes it difficult. And so they have to be you have to be willing to be without the person and test it and say,
Yeah.
hey, look, I want to get married. I don't want to be in some long relationship, because I'm telling you, they'll let you go and go meet somebody and get married in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Be all on Facebook.
Somebody they don't want to live
the girl
without.
of my dreams.
Right.
And so what were you doing for 20 years?
Right. Right. You're dreaming with me.
Yeah.
Fake dreaming.
And so it's I think men mature later than women, and I think relationships help mature men when they are held accountable.
Right.
And so I don't own 5 different cars because the expense of one prohibits me from buying the other 4.
Right.
I'm only in a position to buy one of the cars, and so I have to commit. I have to eventually commit to a car.
Right.
There's going to be features on other cars that I like, okay, but I have to own one of them. I can't date 5 cars.
Right. Absolutely.
I can't keep trying them out, in that sense. And so I think there's a difference between cost and price. Okay, everything has a cost. Even things that are free have a cost.
Right.
And you could tell me I'm giving you all my furniture, but I got to still go up on the 3rd floor, and the cost of getting it is,
Right.
Even though it's free.
Right.
So there's I'm not saying people should come with price. And we got another word for that.
Right.
When you're intimate for a price, okay? But there's going to be a cost to a relationship, and the cost represents itself as weight. And so you want somebody mature enough to handle the weight.
Right.
Okay? And so being in a relationship with an immature person is like dating a 5-year-old. You expect them to be responsible, but they're 5.
They're 5, right.
Can't take the weight.
Right.
My
They don't have it to give.
Yeah, my little grandson, there's only so much he can do physically,
Right.
because he's only 4.
Right.
And so I can want him to do more.
And he thinks he can do more.
He thinks he can do more. Yeah. But when he gets in the middle of it, he's gonna say, Pop, I'm tired. I gotta go sit down.
I need your help.
And so we're actually asking people who don't have the spiritual muscle to handle things that they can't handle the weight of. And so that's why maturity is other than loving God, and the maturity aspect is the number one thing you look for. Can they handle responsibility? How do they respond to problems? Do they have the ability? I like breaking words up into 2. Do they have the ability to respond to difficulty? Okay, because I need to be your chief problem solver.
Right.
You need to be my chief problem solver. We're together, okay? So as we run into things, you're going to run into problems. How does he respond to problems? Does he call responsibility pressure?
Right.
I knew
Oh, that's a big one.
I knew this one couple, and this guy was telling me, man, okay, I hate going to weddings. He said, with my girlfriend, because she starts pressuring me about getting married. And so so I said, well, are you guys together? Yeah. I said, do you live together? Well, yeah. I'm the pastor. They don't want to really answer. I said, are you having sex? Pastor, yeah, we're having sex. Okay. So are you? Is she washing your clothes, fixing your dinner? I said, yeah. I said, is her name on your house? No.
Right.
I said, well, I said she's not pressuring you. She's just wanting you to be responsible and admit to what you have.
What you have.
And just be
Family.
honest about what
Right.
you do. You guys are married. You guys are
Right.
doing life together as a married couple. What would you have? What access would you have to her that you don't have now if you married her?
Right.
So she's just she's just asking you to be a man and recognize what you
What
have.
you already have.
See, and own it and make her legitimate. Give her the commitment that's supposed to come with the kind of access that you have to her. And the kind of things that she's doing for you. She's doing wife stuff
Absolutely.
without the papers, without and so then some guys say, well, it's just a piece of paper. But do you drive without a license?
Right. No.
Do you practice law? Are you a psychologist? Are you a therapist without a license on the law? What else do you do and you don't believe in paper?
Right.
And usually it's only marriage.
Right. That's true.
So yeah, it's on. How can I say it? It's on the woman to make sure to hold the man responsible for leading the relationship. Where are we going?
Right.
What are we? What's the label on us? Are we just friends? Are we a couple? Are we headed towards marriage? This kind of thing. And so
Right. You always say
that's
you can't
important
give
stuff.
what you don't have.
Can't get what you don't have.
Well,
Yeah,
we could talk about that in the next segment.
yeah, we sure can. We sure can. Any other questions you want to hit?
I have a bunch of questions, but we can do the next segment.
Okay,
That'd be
cool.
great.
We'll hold them to the next segment. So you guys hang on. We're going to talk about some juicy stuff in the next segment, okay?
Okay.
God bless you. You have a good day.
Bye bye, everybody.